It's the face of a young man who was thrust into one of the most historic battles of not just World War II, but our nation's history. And his account of that battle would eventually thrust him into the limelight some 60 years later.
We pulled up anchor in Fiji's and started north, and maybe the next day they told us we were going to a Japanese-held island called Guadalcanal.
Guadalcanal was a long way from the Phillips home in Mobile, Alabama.
They told us we were to take this airfield that the Japanese were building. It was almost complete, but was not yet complete.
From August to December of 1942, Private SID Phillips and the 1st Marine Division fought day and night against a determined Japanese force. They eventually captured that airfield, but at a high price.
And everybody was sick, either with malaria or hepatitis or just exhaustion. Everybody was as skinny as a rail. We'd lost about 25 pounds apiece there.
More than a year later, after more fighting, Phillips was set to return home, just as his best friend from childhood, Eugene Sledge, was joining the battle in the Pacific.
Old friend, sir, from Mobile, Alabama.
Eugene and I were just happy-go-lucky young high school kids, and we were always together, always pulling pranks.
But like Sid, Eugene Sledge became a man during the war, and years later, both wrote books of their accounts. Still, for decades, Sid says they were no big deal. But then in 2002, producers for the renowned filmmaker Ken Burns came to Mobile looking for Eugene Sledge to include him in the PBS documentary, The War. Sledge had died the year before, but the producers found Sid and his sister Catherine, who both ended up being featured in that film. That caused Hollywood to come calling a few years later.
Here. Got you something.
Producers Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg used Phillips and Sledge's accounts of the war to help write and film the HBO Mini-series The Pacific, which featured a Hollywood actor named Ashton Holmes as Sid Phillips.
And I tell everybody he's perfect for the part. He's young, handsome, debonair, just like I was.
HBO ran that mini-series earlier this year, and Sid says it still seems surreal.
It is strange to all of a sudden be catapulted into all of this notoriety when you were nobody.
Sid lives a quiet life now and isn't an attention seeker at all, but he says he's happy to hop into the spotlight, not for his sake, but for the sake of today's Marines.
I want to be a cheerleader out in front of the bleachers, urging everybody to revive patriotism and to realize what a great country we have.
A great country, thanks largely to the efforts of men like him. Greg Newman, Channel 3 News.